Welcome back to another episode of Magic's in the Mess, the go-to podcast for ambitious women ready to stop pretending, start aligning, and finally build success your way. I'm your host, Danielle McKinley, speaker, business and wealth strategist, and your go-to problem-solving hype girl. Here, we'll help you unlock powerful mindset shifts, discover your magic, and bring your dream life into reality. Each week, I'll deliver raw stories, proven business strategies, and powerful transformations with industry leaders to activate the magic in you. So if you're ready to ditch the pressure, the performative BS, and the noise telling you who you should be, hit subscribe and let's make some magic. Okay, my friends, we have something so special in store. So I talk about this a lot. I feel like all of my friends that I meet, it's because my energy was drawn to them. And that is my girl, Brittney, today. And as we were prepping for the show today and just doing like some pre-podcast chit chat, we discovered that we are birthday twins. So we are going to have so much fun today. Brittney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, babe. I knew when I walked by your energy, I just was stopped in my tracks. I was like, skirt, I need to go talk to whatever's happening over here. You and your girlfriend were just glowing, looking so radiant and beautiful. And then come to find out you're a Libra twin. And now I know why.
I know. So she posted like this birthday thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish we lived in the same state. And I thought it was on her actual birthday. And then I told her my birthday and we discovered that we're twins. So we are going to... I just feel like we have something really cool brewing for you in here. And let's just start by tell us a little bit about your background before we get into all of the goodness that you pour into the world today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. When I saw the name Magic in the Mess, I was like, sign me up for that because that is the story of my life. I grew up in a small country town called Farmersville, Texas, where I always describe myself as a star shoved into a square-shaped box. I didn't know how to love myself because I felt that nobody understood me. I felt like I didn't fit in this small country, small-minded, boring, non-colorful town. And so for me, my story started really young. As an intuitive and a psychic, I have always had that, I guess, beyond knowing. And that led me to beat to my own drum. And that freaked a lot of people out. And so I learned really quickly what it feels like to be isolated or to feel alone, like nobody gets you, to be I used to call it the black sheep when I was in my angry phase, but now I call it the rainbow sheep because I realized that I was just a misunderstood light worker. And I actually had so much love and magic to give the world, but I just couldn't even accept it myself. So my story started really young, learning to navigate this world intuitively and amongst what I call the muggles for real. And how to be relatable, but also to be authentic. And so that led me from turning down my college, a full ride to college. I was accepted to University of North Texas, and I decided I was going to follow my creative, intuitive path of wanting to do hair and be a hairdresser. My mom was also a hairstylist, so she begged me not to go. Please go to college. You're so smart. Just go do something. And I just remember telling her, no, Mom, I'm going to be a smart hairstylist. I'm actually going to do what I love. And now looking back, I chose the path of hair because as a self-love empowerment coach today, I realized that when I didn't love myself, when I couldn't control my own emotions, when I, as an empath, was picking up everyone else's chaos, I realized that the only control that I thought I had at that time in my life was cutting my hair. I wanted to look like Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle, when she had her messy layers and all the crazy colors. And my mom was not that type of hairstylist. So she's like, I don't know how to do that. So I just grabbed the razor and instead of cutting myself, I cut my hair. And that was the first time I felt like I could control my confidence. And so I now know, I didn't know that back then, but looking back over the careers and from owning a luxury vegan hair salon to empowerment coaching, to being a psychic medium, to hosting events for women to heal and grow, to boudoir photography, every job that I've created for myself, because that has definitely been my path as an entrepreneur, not going to college, not working for someone else. And all of the foundation to the work that I've done over the last 20 years has really been empowerment, women empowerment, whether it's taking your top off and shaking your titties for the camera and feeling sexy, literally in your own skin, or if it's it's learning to love the way that you look on the outside through the hair and the clothes and the creative expression, I think that's the Libra in me. Or if it's learning to love the way that you relate to yourself, your authentic integrity, who you are on the inside as a soul. All of the work that I do really lends to just empowering really women. I know men get empowered too, but I have the work that I did behind the salon chair was for women. So I know women, I know how we think and who we feel. And after 20 years behind the chair, it's just not that pretty. So I had to do something about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What a journey, first of all. Okay, to like self-love and expression. And you could even feel in your energy. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the evolution, like as she was talking and telling her story, how it's sort of like the energy was like down here when you were in your anger phase, like you called it, right? And then it climbs up and you like literally see you get brighter, which is so beautiful to watch. Now, you said a couple of things like, I started cutting my hair so that I wouldn't cut myself, right? That you always felt misunderstood. And when you discover the magic in the mess, it's usually not when you're in the middle of the mess. It's usually in reflecting and going backwards and going, oh, okay, like that's why it happened, right? So take us back to almost like tap into your anger phase. Because for somebody who's not tapped into their intuitive gifts or their zone of genius or the things that they're really meant to do here in their soul's contract, what would you tell them? Like if you could go back to being in that angry phase, being misunderstood, now that you have the hindsight, what are some things you could like reach down and tell someone who's in that phase today?
Yeah, go to a rage room, baby girl, don't hold it in. You know, that's the first thing I would say. But, you know, anger as an emotion represents something that feels unfair. And as a Libra, you know, justice and fairness is like our baseline of like who we are and how we operate. And so for a lot of my life, I felt like things were unfair, having been adopted, having been sexually abused, all kinds of things that would lend to a sense of, one, abandonment, and two, that eventually leads to anger, especially when your dad was an alcoholic who also had anger issues. And so for me, I think that anger was a protection mechanism. And I will share, because you mentioned like how you only can reflect back to realize, again, I didn't know I was empowering women when I was taking their picture topless or when I was balayaging their hair or telling them, leave that fucking narcissist. I didn't know that was the case. Only through reflection can I see that there was like a common thread. But I will share that throughout my healing journey, from mushrooms to hypnosis, one of the most potent times where I had that realization of my anger and why it was there to protect me and what it did for me was when I was doing a forgiveness session in hypnosis with my husband. Luckily, I married a hypnotist, so I get to do the healing like on the reg, which is really beautiful. And there was
on-demand healing. I love it.
It's amazing. And so we were doing this forgiveness session, and in the session, you put the people that you want to express your feelings towards in the listening chair. So you imagine this listening chair in front of you. And I went through the Rolodex. It was my mom. It was my stepdad. It was my uncle that called me Brittney when I was 8 years old. For the first time, I realized why I thought I was fat, or where the belief or the idea got implanted as a child. So had to forgive him for calling me Brittney and making me think I was fat, and like just the whole story that literally shaped my reality. And then at the end of the session, Chris said, is there anyone else you want to put in the chair? And immediately I saw my 19-year-old angry self, well over 200 pounds, full of just rage, black hair, piercings all over her face. She was like dark. She was so dark. That's why I like to post before and after. I'm like, y'all see me shining today, but let me remind you that was a choice to change, and you have that power too. And so when I was in this forgiveness meditation and he said, is there anyone else you want to put in the chair and talk to? I put my 19-year-old self in the chair and I asked this question: why were you so angry? Why'd we do this around a full moon eclipse? I said, why were you so angry? And she said, because I had so much love to give and no one to give it to. And that's when I realized for the first time that every boy I tried to sleep with to get approval or validation or love was like never going to work. And the perfect husband that I married, like even that wasn't enough to fill that love that I was looking for within myself. And so that was that first moment where I had the reflection and the realization of what anger cost me. Anger cost me my own love because I was blocking out everyone else's so that I wouldn't feel the pain, but I was also blocking out my own pain and my own love. And so I think that forgiveness session was, of course, we can let go of other people and recognize like, oh, well, because they did this, now I'm more empowered because of that. But when you have to forgive and recognize that it's your own fucking fault, it's your own self that was beating you up the whole time or holding you back, that's when you really start to understand what the freedom of forgiveness feels like. Because when you let you off the hook, there's no one left in line.
When you let you off the hook, that is so powerful. First off, thank you for being like so open and vulnerable about that. And I know that like, you know, you've done a lot of the healing because that's why you're able to do the work that you do. And there's this saying that in order to heal, you have to heal. So if you want to heal others, you have to do that hard work inside. And it's very apparent, even just the little bit that I've known you, that you've done that. You also said, though, that it was in, you know, forgiving yourself and that it's a choice. You said it like so slightly and you have this choice too. So I think it's really important for even somebody who like, maybe you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm not angry, but maybe you're feeling like, why doesn't it work out for me? Or why does it seem like everybody else has it together? When is it going to be my turn? I feel like I'm always pouring in. When is the support going to come to me? I challenge you to do a reframe because a lot of life is a mirror. And there's this concept that I have, which is why you should thank assholes. Because assholes are teachers. You know, we say triggers are teachers, right? But assholes are the delivery method. And so sometimes you are your own biggest asshole. And the story you just shared with us is such a perfect example of that. So I just think that if you're listening to this and you're like, you're either relating to it because you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, I'm in this phase, or like, I felt that way. Or you're feeling like I feel that way, but I'm not angry. That's just some voice of reason to maybe reflect upon to shift it. So
yeah, I mean, feeling anything less than love for yourself, whether it's sadness or regret or shame or anger, all of those are just limiting you from the love that's available. And it starts with self-love. That's what it's not called your mama's love or your partner's love. It's literally called self-love for you to do the work, you know?
Yeah, so good. Okay, so let's start to talk about then, you know, you discover this. So you have this moment of hypnosis and you realize, holy shit, like I was the problem, right? I was the one blocking it, and you forgive that version of yourself. How did that change you? Because sometimes I feel like there's these moments in the healing journey where you're like, woo, I just like quantum leaped. So how did that shift things once you had the awareness to it?
Oh man, awareness is the first step to change. So most people don't even realize that they're unconsciously running on programs that are reacting to life rather than creating it. So I think one of the first YouTubes I ever created, I remember sitting in my salon thinking like, shoot, I know I wanted to like inspire people, but I don't know what to say. Like, what am I supposed to say? And I just thought, well, I want to help people change. I want to help people transform. And I literally sat there and I was like, well, what is the first step? I'm like, awareness is the key to change. That was the name of the first YouTube I ever did. Awareness is the key to change. So I think having that awareness is critical and first step. At the time that I was going through this awakening journey, I had no awareness that I had issues. That's the funny part, is most people don't know until they know. And even with the awareness, do they choose to change it or not? And so for me, it started when my husband asked, hey babe, do you talk to yourself? And I just snapped back, no, of course not. And it was weeks later that I was getting ready, putting clothes on, and my internal dialogue was extra loud that day. You're this, you're that, you're not blah, 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 you're too fat, blah, blah, blah. Just old negative stories that I heard. And that was the first time I had awareness that I was even talking shit to myself. Like I didn't even know I was that mean to myself. Yeah. And so awareness for me was that first step of recognizing the limiting story that I was telling myself, or the limiting labels. And today I always say you're only as strong as the story you tell yourself. So one of the massive pieces of work that we do at Goddess Retreat, or any of the work that we do to help shift and shine from the inside, is identifying those negative labels. So for me, that first bit of awareness came with, well, what are those limiting labels that I'm sharing or that I'm saying about myself? And my 3 negative labels were fat, bitch, and whore. Like, I'm operating with labels that came from like middle school, high school that did not serve me, but were continuing to pave the way and attract to me what I thought I deserved, if you will, because I allowed those labels. They were given to me and I said, okay, I'll just place them right here and accept that I'm a whore because you think so. And it was the awareness that I even had the labels that gave me the courage to say, okay, but I can change these. These are not who I am. These are stories that someone else has told about me and I've accepted them. So for me, the awareness starts with the stories that you tell yourself. So if you're in that state of transformation and change, my biggest invitation is to do a 24-hour like mental check-in of like, what are the stories I'm telling myself? Am I positively supporting myself and cheering myself on? And this, you know, where the moon is, where your hormones are, and is it that time of the month, all will shift how you're relating to yourself. And so this is a daily practice that has to start coming into play when you have more awareness, or you're living with intention or living mindfully. That awareness is literally everything. I mean, enlightenment is total awareness or total saturation in love, like having the full awareness of all of it. And so I think when it comes to being able to transform yourself, that first step is awareness. And then the second step, I think, is acceptance. And you have to be able to accept, like, okay, I'm the one talking shit to myself every day when I get ready. It's not the people on the internet, it's me. And so I think acceptance to recognize, like, maybe I do have a part and there is responsibility on my half that I have to take. So I would say that would be the initiation of transformation.
So good. So good. And as you were talking about it, I got this drop in. It's one of my favorite books. It's called The Untethered Soul. Mm-hmm. And it's such a great starting point. And like right in, I think it's like chapter 1 or 2, they start talking about your inner voice and your inner dialogue. And you do this exercise. So like Brittney was saying, like for 24 hours, pay attention to what that voice inside your head is saying. And they go a little bit further where they break it out. The author breaks it out and is like, okay, if that voice was a friend of yours in the present day and they were saying the things that you're saying in your mind, what would you say to them? Like, you would be like, get the fuck out of here, right? Like, if you were saying that stuff, if a friend was saying that to you, they wouldn't be your friend. So it's a really fun way to sort of like give them a personality, like make them a person. And it's really just that voice inside your head. And then do the 24 hours and recognize, like, that's going to help you get an idea of the scripts that are running and help you tap into your subconscious so that you can start to rewire it and choose new scripts. Like, you can upgrade it.
You can, and it's available now. That's the best part. And I'd love to go a little bit deeper on this because when I work with Chris and do the hypnosis work around reframing and rewiring our mindset, one of the things that he's taught me that has been so fun is actually changing the voice of our inner dialogue. So for me, like, does it sound like your mom? Does it sound like you? Does it sound like an ex-partner? Like, what does your inner dialogue even represent or sound like? And what I found is that my inner dialogue wasn't even me. It wasn't even my own voice. And so he had encouraged me to try shifting the tone to Minnie Mouse so that when I'm talking shit about myself, I just can't even take myself seriously because I'm just so fat and I'm such an asshole and I'm such a bitch. Like, you cannot take yourself serious when your inner dialogue shifts to a Minnie Mouse voice. So I would love to not only give you the awareness, like, hey, you talking shit to yourself probably, but also you can change it by shifting the tone of voice and how it sounds in your mind. He's also taught me the mute button where you just turn the volume down on that voice. Like, we are going to turn the volume up on our intuition, which whispers love, and we're going to turn the volume down on that ego voice that shouts fear, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good. Yeah, you can't take the Minnie Mouse seriously.
I mean, try shit talking yourself in a Minnie Mouse voice. No way.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so something that I've seen and come across in some of the work that you do is you talk about how, like, self-love isn't a spa day. And I think that there's, like, you know, I feel like hustle culture is going away, which is so beautiful. We're on this shift, this massive shift. But I still think that people don't know how to care for themselves. So kind of break down what you mean by that.
Yeah, self-love is embracing and loving your shadows, not just a day at the spa. That is for sure. It is about being able, holistic love. It is about being able to encompass the whole, the dark parts of yourself that you maybe don't love so much, or the anger or the fear or the past pains that you've carried along. And for me, self-love starts with being honest with yourself. And to be honest, we have to face some of those hard truths, take responsibility for the actions that we did or didn't show up with, whether there was a lack of boundary and we allowed people to infiltrate, or we were people pleasing to earn love. I think there's just a lot of responsibility when it comes to self-love, and it really starts with that radical honesty. And that is what I have found. I mean, maybe you know this as a 20-degree Libra, like people don't like the truth. Okay. They avoid it. Oh my gosh. And so maybe it's the hairdresser, maybe it's a 20-degree Libra. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a stellium and Scorpio. I got all kinds of like just transformation energy behind there, where I'm just like, let's bring shine a light to the shadows. Whereas most people avoid this work. And so for me, as the first thing I want to dive into, like, what's your biggest pain and trauma? I mean, that's how Chris and I started dating 19 years ago. We sat in a car and talked for like 4 hours, and I was like, here's my biggest trauma and here's all my pains. Like, that was day one conversation. And then we made out. It was like the perfect expression. Like, let me get all this off my chest. And so when it comes to self-love, I think it's radical honesty is the first step. Like, we can go to the spa, but we can't accept ourselves if we don't get clear in what our integrity is, where our authenticity lies, what are our boundaries, what do we stand for? If we don't know who we are, that's the first question and the most important question I always say that you could ever ask yourself in this lifetime is the question, who am I? And self-love is answering that question, is who am I beyond the titles, the recognition, the labels, the projections of other people. And when it really boils down to it, it comes down to being accepting and loving of your unique essence and not trying to change and manipulate it. So for me, self-love is not about improving. It's more about allowing what is already so beautiful and so perfect. So refining.
So good. I want you to like pause. She gave you so many questions to ask yourself and reflect on. However, my favorite one is one that I practice, which is, who am I? And I will tell you, my friends, and Brittney, you don't know this, but my background is in building and scaling software companies. I was super in my masculine energy. I was really freaking good at it. But when we exited, it didn't feel good. And the most confronting question I asked myself when I was in my cocoon phase of figuring out why was, who am I? So when you sit down and do that, if you immediately feel like your stomach tighten, your shoulders tighten, and you feel like that ick in your body, that means that is your signal that you need to explore that. Because that could be the reason that so many other things feel out of alignment or off in your life. Like, it really unlocked the doors for me, because I had to become aware that who I was not who I wanted to be. I had to then accept that I lived a life and was wearing a mask in ways that weren't serving me but looked good or appeased others. And then I had to take radical accountability in order to shift it. And that's not easy to do. So I would highly recommend that if any of those stuck out to you, lean into them. But if you could pick just one out of, I think you gave us like 10 questions. It was fantastic. I want to go back and like pull them out in the show notes. But start with the who am I one. It's so good. So good. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of built this like intuitive empire. So like everything that you're doing, which I am so drawn to right now. So I am dying to know, you know, you mentioned at the beginning, like in some of your mess, you felt misunderstood as a result of your intuitive gifts. Now you have this intuitive empire with everything you touch has that mixed into it. Let's talk about how that came to be.
Yeah, and it makes me laugh because I keep thinking I want to go back to my hometown and like start open a yoga studio and be like, the witch is back, y'all, and she's bringing tools to heal you. You know,
I support it.
Literally. So intuitive path, again, I've always been very intuitive, very just know things, feel things, can sense other people's emotions. And that scared me as a kid. I could see entities and angels and spirits in my room, and it really freaked me out. And what I know now is that we all are born with these gifts, but we turn them off and shut them down when we get scared, and we aren't given the tools on how to actually use them. And so for me, it's always been a part of my story and who I am. And again, it is for you too. But it wasn't until I had a near-death experience in 2012 that really started to activate and awaken that internal dialogue that wasn't my inner mean girl. Well, let me back up. At the beginning of 2012, my mom had a massive stroke that paralyzed her, and that she couldn't talk, she couldn't walk. And so what I now, again, all reflection, what I now know is that her months of recovery and learning how to talk again, I used a lot of my telepathy to be able to communicate with her, to read her body signals, to understand what is she thinking and feeling, because she couldn't even use words to express herself. And words account for 7% of communication. And so a lot of our connection is energetic. And so I was developing my skills back in 2012, unbeknownst to me, just trying to like make sure she didn't die and that she got what she needed without being able to express herself. And then just a few months after that, we were in a near-death experience on a mountain in Colorado. We had taken our hybrid Prius C car up a snowmobile trail, which I didn't know at the time. And we got stuck on the mountain lions, trapped in a river. I mean, the story is insane, and I will save that for the brevity of everything. But that moment was when I started hearing this phrase, there's a lesson to be learned. There's a lesson to be learned. And I kept hearing this phrase inside my mind, there's a lesson to be learned. And shortly after that trip, I remember being on that mountain and being absolutely terrified. And for a period of time, I was raised by a Christian preacher. And then I met my Aquarian husband, who was like, here, read some books and watch some documentaries. And so I went through this phase of trying to recognize and understand, like, who am I and what do I believe? And I remember being on that mountain and praying, I know you're out there. I know you can hear me. And if you save me and get me off this mountain, I promise I will listen to my inner voice. I promise I will follow through, because I know you were trying to tell me to turn around. I kept hearing, turn around, this is not a road. Turn around, this is not a road. And my GPS said, keep going. You're only 7 miles from your destination. And I made a vow in that moment that I was no longer going to trust external GPS, because it was literally taking me up a snowmobile trail in the middle of the night that tried to kill me. And my internal GPS was trying to guide me the whole time. There's a lesson here. Turn around. This isn't a road. And so I made a vow that if I got off that mountain that night, that I would listen to my intuition, that I would always follow through on it. And I'll be damned if that didn't unlock the most wild adventure over the last 13 years. And it started with me going to the bookstore. And at the time, Chris and I were CrossFit paleo competitors, which is funny because we're 13 years vegan now. So like we did a full 180. But at the time we were going to create a paleo cookbook. And when I was standing in Barnes & Noble, I heard that same phrase, turn around. And I did not want to turn around, but because I was like, oh God, it's talking to me again. What is this? But I made a promise. So I turned around. And when I turned around, it was the new age woo-woo section of the bookstore. And there was a book that stood out, very rainbow and beautiful. And I pulled it off the shelf, and it was called Trust Your Vibes by Sonia Choquette. And I opened up that book, and there was a quiz inside. Are you intuitive? I don't think I'd ever heard that word. I'm like, are you intuitive? Although I loved, Miss Cleo, I was like, I want to call, like, I believe in this stuff, like The Craft, Teen Witch, like it, looking back, like it was built in. I knew I was going to come home to myself eventually, but I did this quiz, Are You Intuitive? And I scored 100% on it. And I dropped the book in Barnes & Noble and cried right there. I was like, I don't know what's happening to me, but something's going on and I've got to figure this out. And so just a couple months after that, I went to go see a psychic, and she's the most renowned psychic in Dallas with her little purple house. And I walked in, and the first thing she said to me was, honey, are you intuitive? I was like, yes, it told me to come here. What's happening to me right now? She was like, buy yourself some tarot cards. You have the gift. Like, start practicing. And that's ultimately what kind of kick-started my intuitive and psychic abilities. Anytime someone asks me on a podcast, like, how'd you become psychic? Trauma, baby, trauma. Okay.
Oh my gosh, so good. And I always like things like pull out when people are telling me stories and I have guests on. And what's coming to me from the story is trusting your internal GPS, not your external GPS. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is so powerful for anything. Like, we literally are energetic beings, and we know when something is for us or not, but it's getting used to knowing what a yes feels like in your body and what a no feels like in your body. If you're not hearing words, right? We all have that feeling. And so I just love the way that you phrase that, of really trusting, like, don't trust the outside, trust within.
Yes, and I want to dive deeper on feeling those yeses and no in your body. So let's dive in a little bit deeper on that specific topic of feeling the yes and no in your body. This is something that definitely helped me in accessing my intuition and knowing, like, here's the first question that you need to know when you're practicing your intuition. Am I crazy? When you ask that question, you know without a doubt that was your intuition and your logical mind immediately coming in with, what the hell was that information? Where did that come from? Because the definition of intuition is knowing beyond logic. So our logical mind can't even access the frequency, truly the frequency that the information comes in on. And so the first thing I'll leave you with is starting with that question. Am I crazy? If you ask that question, you're on the right path. So, like, celebrate yourself. But one of the tools that really helped me is accessing where is a yes and a no in my body. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you, I want you to think of a true statement. Like, for me, my name is Brittney. Okay. That's a true statement. So my name is Danielle. So say that true statement out loud to yourself and see where that resonates as a, yes, that's true for me. So go for it.
Yeah. I'm Danielle.
Okay. And where do you feel that in your body?
My gut is
like where you're like, I know that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Exactly. Like, my heart is like, yeah, like, that is it. That is so true. And then now I want you to think of a very false statement. Like, the sky is green. Anything that you know for sure is not true. So let's say, okay, the sky is green. When I tell you, Danielle, did you know that the sky is green? Where in your body are you like, skirt? I don't know about that. That feels like a no to me.
So I'm very tapped into this, and I do this same thing. Like, I'll be like, I'm Danielle McKinley, or I'm Benjamin Franklin, right? Like, the yes, no thing, where you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a 6'2" sacral generator. So any of my sacral human designs out there, your gut is like firing. So I know very much what it feels like. My gut is where I get my yeses and my nos. And for a yes, it feels very like, almost like I took a deep breath and filled my belly with really good, clean, oxygenated air. And if it says no, it's this constriction, and it's like almost like a cramp. Right? So, because I've practiced this and practiced this and practiced this, because I know that I'm sacral by design, so I know that my gut leads me. And so if that's you, it's really good, but you'll notice in your body the yes or the no. And if you keep practicing it, and even just doing this example that Brittney's giving us, if you do it every day, you're literally training your body to have the awareness.
Yeah. And then you have an automatic lie detector built in. So you know at all times when someone's giving you true information or false information, whether you logically know it's true or false, your body resonates and knows beyond. So you can actually get really good at reading people by being more in tune with the way that you feel, because the way that you're feeling is essentially a reflection of what's in front of you.
Oh, I feel like I need to go deeper, because I do it really for like what's meant for me. I haven't really tapped into it for like others, and kind of like sussing out that, like that way. That's fascinating. I love that.
And I think it probably stemmed from 20 years behind the chair, one-on-one, like being like, are you giving me bullshit right now? Or is this real? You know? And then also with the healing work that I do, I host so many events with hundreds of women that come together in the room. And so being able to hold space energetically for healing for all involved, you have to be aware and tuned in when the energy shifts or changes or people close off, because if the room starts to close off, then the healing and the magic is lost, and that's not the point of a sisterhood circle. And so I think just being so dialed into even reading other people's body language or checking in with their energy, it's like because you know how you feel when you walk into a room and it's like stuck up and tight. You're like, you feel it. You're like, I don't feel like I can walk in here. There's eggshells. But when it's like a loving, open-hearted room, you walk in and you're like, I'm here. Who is ready to play? And like, it's just this expansive energy. And so the same is true in relationship with people as well. Like, how do they make you feel? Yeah. And another thing to pay attention to is, what are they attracting into their life? You know, that's if you're like going to go on a date with them or take them on a one-on-one client for a long time. You know, you got to pay attention to those things.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so you mentioned too that you're an empath. And as a fellow empath, I would love to learn from you. And for anyone that's listening that feels that and is learning how to become an observer and not a sponge, and you leading these healing rooms and things, you've had to really master that. So can you give us some like tactical things that we can do to start to become an observer of energy versus a sponge where it's like overwhelming?
Yeah. So there's two things that I do anytime I go out into the public, and it's really helped me to protect my boundaries and decipher, is this my energy or is this someone else's? And so for me, anytime I walk through a door frame, I use anchors. So for me, the anchor is a door frame. So anytime I see, like, maybe your anchor is like the color red, and every time you see the red, you reinforce that I'm going to protect myself and put like my shields up. For me, I use door frames because if I'm walking through a door frame, it means I'm going somewhere and there's going to be people involved. So anytime I walk through a door frame, I've like subconsciously like decided that's my trigger to re-up my boundaries. And so the first thing I do is when I walk through the door frame, I imagine, of course, that beautiful white glowing light to protect your aura, but I take it a step further. I make it like my own. I'm an authentic Libra. Okay. It's got to be colorful. So I add purple and sparkles and fireworks and doves are flying out. So when I walk through doors, I'm walking through with the energy of I'm here. This is my energy. I'm establishing my space versus I'm here to receive all of your energy and information. So for me, putting up that energetic boundary and protection is step number one to be in public, period. And this is a constant, like making sure that you're re-upping your boundaries. As a hairstylist, it's one client after the next, after the next, after the next. And so I can't just put my boundary up for the day and then someone else comes in and like you got to recharge like your battery. You use it a lot, you got to charge it back up. Same with your boundaries. So for me, the first step is finding an anchor that I can remind myself, like, oh, protect my shield. Shields up is what Chris will say when we go into public places. He's like, shields up, girl. I'm like, zing, 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 like zip my energy up, like do all the things, because like it does infiltrate. And the truth is as an empath, or whether you're an empath or not, empath just means you recognize that people are, you're feeling everyone else too. But if people are thinking about you across the world, that can trigger your energy and you're like, that can cross your boundaries. And so for me, it's about constantly putting that energy and that wall of protection up. The second thing that I do is what Chris and I teach at my, this is like high level what we teach at my goddess retreat, but I felt like called to share it earlier. And since you asked, I'm like, yep, I have to share. It's called the plexiglass routine. And you imagine someone on the other side. We do all of this like closed eyes process. And we imagine someone sitting on the other side of a plexiglass wall, someone we don't know at all. And we have them say like critical things, like things that like would hurt our feelings. And we watch all of those words hit the plexiglass wall and return to sender. And then we put someone we love and trust in the chair and we have them say those mean things. And we do the same thing. What does that feel like when someone we love says something? We allow it to hit that plexiglass wall and return to sender. And on the last bit, it's about giving yourself that one split second of decision where if someone's giving you feedback or information or you're in a heated conversation, it goes through and passes this plexiglass wall and you get to ask yourself that question. Is this mine to keep or am I returning to sender? And for me, being able to protect my energy as an empath, I'm constantly return to sender. And when clients are talking to me, whether it's one-on-one in a tarot reading, coaching call, or a hair client, if I'm in space or even in this podcast, if you say something to me that doesn't feel like I want to invite that into my system, I will say return to sender, like silently. I'm not like, hey, return to sender. You can keep that bullshit. I mean, depends on who it is. I might say it out loud, but it's just no, thank you. Return to sender. So I think you have to recognize like you have the ability to send it back. You don't have to absorb it all, because empaths think that if I feel your pain too, then we'll both be healed. But the truth is y'all both just feeling pain. Okay. No one's processing it. Y'all are both just suffering.
Oh, that's so good. So good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your goddess retreat, because it, like, I can already feel just in the little nuggets that you've shared, the beautiful energy that can be found in that room. So I would love for our listeners to hear about it. And if they feel so called, get yourself in the freaking room.
Yeah. So, after 20 years behind the chair, about maybe 10 years into the career, I kept hearing the same phrase from each woman that sat in my chair over and over again. And that phrase was, I feel alone. Like, nobody gets me. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Hello. Welcome. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Like, but you're so cool. Why do you not have friends? Like, why do you not have people that get you? And so after years of hearing women say, I feel alone, nobody gets me, but they're these amazing, powerful, badass, like boss babes or stay at home moms or fucking single moms, you know, like there's all these incredible women from all walks of life, all nationalities, all everything, just so different. I started realizing we all feel the same way, and we want to connect. We want to be seen and heard and loved by people that actually truly understand us. And so maybe it's that Libra in me that's like social and gatherings and let's throw a party. But I was like, I'm going to bring all my clients together. And I was really into the moon at the time, like studying the 28-day cycle, recognizing our hormones, our whole life, everything is connected to the moon, like, and the energy and the ebbs and flows. Like, I had no idea. I thought I was just crazy, like 2 weeks out of the month, every month. I didn't know what it was. It's called hormones, apparently. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to host an event on a full moon. I'm going to bring all the women from my salon. I'm going to post a Facebook event about it and just see what happens. And that was, almost 10 years ago that we started doing the goddess gatherings and doing the full moons. And I think the first event we did was 12 people that showed up. And then the next event was like 2. And then, you know, it just eventually grew every new moon and every full moon. And I didn't realize it was every 2 weeks on the dot. I was hosting events. So at this point, I've hosted well over 250 events from these local goddess gatherings that really were about what I coined the term as burning the bullshit, where we all came together, we journaled out, we processed everything we wanted to let go of, and we did it collectively, where I was able to coach and guide and hold space for women. And after these 3-hour ceremonies of manifesting, of releasing the BS, and I started realizing that women were changing their lives. One woman said, I almost didn't show up because I didn't think I could sit here for 3 hours because my back hurts so bad. I have so much back pain. In that one session that she came to the event, she forgave her mom and she wrote down things she wanted to let go of from her past, and she burned it. And she later came back to the next one and said, told me I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't think I'd be able to. And now my back pain is gone. So some of the pain that we hold in our body, whether we think we mentally have let go of these things, our body still remembers if we haven't moved that energy out. And something symbolic and ritualistic, like writing down and burning the piece of paper, actually transmutes the energy. And I didn't realize how potent and powerful it is when you just put women in the room together and that all have a heart open and a mission to heal and like to shine bright and make a damn positive impact in the world. I didn't realize the power that would just happen naturally. And so over the course of the years, things were transforming. I had a 17-year-old girl come in and say, I have all these warts on my hands. I'm so self-conscious. I'm so embarrassed. She wrote that in the bowl. She wrote it, burned it in the bowl, and later came back and didn't have warts on her hands. Like, I was starting to see things of like growing up in a Christian household and like Assembly of God, like crazy healing miracles. I started to see things like that happen. And I'm like, there is spirit present in this room and I want to do something about it. And I kept having women ask, how do we do this more? How do we do this longer? So I just decided I was going to book a beautiful house on the coast of Florida in Destin. And I thought it was either going to be a very expensive family vacation or it was going to be my first ever goddess retreat. And I'll be damned, we sold it out. And we've just been hosting these healing goddess retreats all over the world, from Costa Rica to Colorado. We find that being in a beautiful nature environment really lends to a safe space for healing. And so we've refined this process where we now work through the chakra system and we work through all 7 layers of, so no matter where you're at on your journey, you might be very developed and like high level career, but you're still mad at your mom, you know, like no matter where you're at on your journey, we will help to find where you're blocking and holding yourself back, which is why I bring my husband in as a hypnotist to do inner child forgiveness work. We even do meeting your spirit guide so that you can have that higher level connection, so that you always have a sense of power to return to. So the retreats were really born out of these 3-hour let's burn some shit and howl at the moon events, because women needed a safe space to heal and sisterhood to connect with.
Oh, so beautiful. And such like you healing you, and then recognizing that you now have this gift to heal, and now this beautiful magical experience was created. It's so incredible.
And that's really like the whole intuitive empire that you mentioned has really been one building block after another based on what the community has asked for, their needs, and being able to support the shift and the journey along the way. And so it started with, I feel alone in Frisco, Texas, so there's got to be other weirdos out there like me. Let me start an online Facebook community. That's how the Shine Tribe Sisterhood was born. And then I was like, well, I'm a tarot reading psychic. Like, I'm going to start Woo Woo Wednesday and reading live oracle cards and tarot pulls like every Wednesday. And I've done that for almost the last 10 years. And it all really started just one thing at a time, like following that one intuitive nudge. And then it started, well, can I have a reading? I'm like, you want me to read for you? Oh my God, I don't even know how to do it. I'm like, I don't know. And so it was like having to step outside my comfort zone to support my community. And it made it a little bit easier because I knew that there was a sister on the other side that wasn't there to judge me, that actually needed help, that needed support. And so I think it took the ego out of the whole growth. And now I look back over the last 10 years and like getting to speak on behalf of Kajabi and getting to play sound bowls for Martha Stewart. Like, I've gone to do some things that this little Farmersville hairdresser would have never believed possible. But I just trusted that one step at a time. Turn around. This is not a road. Buy yourself some tarot cards, like listen to your body, heal your trauma, girl. So it was one step at a time. And I'm just so grateful now looking back over the courses, from the Oracle deck to retreats to even having women come to the Goddess retreat and like see me and Chris work together and want to know like how to have that powerhouse, like supportive relationship. They're like, well, can I bring my husband to the Goddess retreat? I'm like, will he wear a crown and sparkles? Like, I don't know, like, cause we have a dress code, you know?
It's
so
just another nudge that's like, you need to create one for couples.
Well, we did, and it's called the Evolved Couples Retreat. And so that is just how this whole empire was like built. It was like one course idea after the next because someone said, I need help with this. I'm an empath that keeps attracting narcissists. How do I break the cycle? It was like, okay, we'll do a live masterclass on that. That then turned into, okay, let's start teaching every month in our monthly coaching membership club, the Elevated Life. And that turned into, well, now let's turn it into a podcast. And holy smokes, girl, like if you look at it today, you would be tired. People ask me all the time, how do you do it all? Like, that's too much. My first answer is I don't have kids. And my second answer is I've done it over 20 years. So stop judging my year 20 versus like you're getting started. And so I think you need to know, listening to this, that no matter where you're at in your life, in your business, in building this dream that you have for yourself, it is one step at a time. We can't do it all at once. And I think patience is the biggest lesson I've had to really understand as an intuitive, is because we can, as a visionary, we can see the change, we can see the future, we know it's possible, but we have to wait for the physical timeline, the reality. If other people are involved, you have to wait until their energy clicks in and they're available to serve and like, co-create. And so when things are not moving and you feel frustrated, just know that it is spirit working behind the scenes, actually giving you an invitation to rest, while the next big chapter is being prepared. So I feel like I'm currently in a rest phase where I'm like, I think something really big is around the corner, and I'm giving myself full permission to like I said to you earlier, it's like, this is the first time I don't have anything actually scheduled. Maybe a boudoir retreat in December, but that's fine. We're co-creating, but I don't have I've been hosting hundreds of events over the years, and I have nothing on the schedule until next year. And part of me, like that hustle culture part of me, is dying and is like, no, let it go, girl, take a break. This is great. You don't need to do it. And then the other part of me is like, but I want to do it. It's like my calling. So I think finding the balance of knowing when to rest, even when you're so fucking passionate about the work that you do. Rome wasn't built in one day.
Yeah. Oh, so good. And I always like to pull out like the through line, because even if you're listening to this and you're like, well, shit, I don't know if I'm an intuitive. Well, you are. Everyone is born with it. You just shut it down. And it's okay if you don't want to explore it or you're not ready to unlock that. But something that the theme, if you really pay attention to what she was sharing in her story, is that number one, you are listening to your community. And number two, you are taking quick action once you saw something that could work. And number three, you were really leading heart-centered and of service. And when you do those three things, you really can't miss. It may not work exactly how you see it in your mind initially. It may take longer than you think it likely will, because most good things take way longer than we think that they will. But if you're leading in that way and you're feeling good about the work you're doing, it's lighting you up, you're getting that hell yes in your body, then keep going. And like she said, don't compare your chapter 1 or 2 or 3 to somebody's 10, 12, 20, 30. think that's such a great reminder. Now, you also were so kind to bring, like, you had the drop in of like, I need to bring my cards to this. So you have the Oracle cards that are Shine from the Inside Oracle.
Yep, Shine from the Inside.
And we have just had a crazy full moon eclipse season. Like, we are recording this on September 9th, 2025. And there is some powerful energy out. So I think it would be really fun if you're open to it. You mentioned that maybe you were, if we could pull a card that is something like, whoever is meant to listen to this episode, it is a message they are supposed to hear.
Oh, I love it. And you mentioned 99. It's actually 999 because we're in that year of 9. When you add 2025 together, it equals a 9. So already this year was like set for closure and ending old karmic patterns and old stories that we tell ourselves. But it being on 999, like this is true. And right after the eclipse, like we're in between eclipses, like this is a really potent time. So I hope that when this finds you, you have given yourself full permission to let go of who you thought you were supposed to be or the timeline that you're supposed to be on. Because if you're here now, you're in the right place, exactly where you're meant to be. And I think sometimes just accepting that can bring such relief and such freedom to the moment. So I'm excited to see. I'm going to shuffle the Shine from the Inside Oracle with that intention that all of us listening receive that message that we need to have the courage to, have the courage to let go of the old and step into the new. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Okay, here we go. Oh, this is fun. Perform a random act of kindness.
Aww.
Perform, and it's got all the little moons and the stars on there. So this perform a random act of kindness. I love that this is coming up because I always say you get what you give, right? And when I am feeling like I want something and I know that I have to take responsibility to give it to myself, even if I want like my husband to buy me flowers or I want someone to like give me a compliment. What I do is I go and give that thing that I'm looking for, like in myself. And that creates this ripple effect of now I've given a gift. Someone else feels good. It feels good that I've given them the gift. And then law of reciprocity says it's coming back at some point. So now I'm going to win twice. I'm going to win from the feel good of actually giving that gift. And then I'm going to win from being open to receive it coming back. And so when I see the perform a random act of kindness, this really is about just shifting the reality. Like if you want radical change, gratitude, appreciation, and doing kind things and being of service to other people is the fastest antidote to like shift like a down going mood or energy. So I love that perform a random act of kindness came up because there's so much healing and there's so much like release of the past. We were just teaching in the Elevated Life Club today on how to heal the past. I was saying, I think we're done learning through pain and I think it's time to learn through pleasure. And so I think that if we can start offering love and being the first person to open the door or to say, hey, how's it going? I think that is the energy that's going to change the world and it won't even take effort.
So good. Thank you so much for doing that. And these are her, if you didn't catch this, like these are her personal oracle cards. And they are available. We will drop the link in the show note. And of course, they're so beautiful and sparkly and colorful. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, I need those now, add to cart. And if you're listening to this, you need them anyway because hi, her energy. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
First things first, there is something that I love to do on this show with all of my guests, which is to help you collectively energy, right? Celebrate something magical that has happened to you within the last week. I like to choose the last 7 days because I feel like we don't often celebrate the small wins. And sometimes we skip right over the big ones and are like, okay, what's next? So I love to remind people to stop and pause and celebrate big or small. So what is a magic moment that happened to you in the last 7 days that we can all push some energy your way and help you celebrate?
Oh my God. I love that so much. I'm literally looking in the deck. I will answer your question, but I'm looking in the deck because there is a card that says celebrate yourself, you deserve it. And all of these were lessons. Oh, where are you, card? All right. She's literally hiding. Okay. You know, when you're like looking for something that's right in your face, it's probably staring at you right in the face. But all of the cards from the Shine from the Inside Oracle are lessons that I teach inside of my online self-love program, Shine School. And one of the major lessons in the last module on like turning your dream life into reality is celebrate the small wins. That's literally the title of the lesson. And it is exactly a lesson I learned from after years, like 2 years of planning my wedding. The first thing I asked when it was over was like, well, now what? What's next? When I got on TV, or when I accomplished this, or when I hit that 6-figure, 7-figure, whatever the fuck milestones, I'm like, well, what's next? And I realized like that never ends. So we have to learn to enjoy the journey. And the way that we do that is not wait till the end to celebrate. We celebrate every single step. So thank you for reiterating this message and reminding people that every moment is a chance to celebrate. In fact, I have a pillow on my bed that says celebrate every day, like it's your birthday. And if you ask my Aquarian husband, like, what's the biggest thing you ever learned from Brit? And he says that she makes everything a celebration. So thank you, my sweet Libra birthday soul twin, for continuing to reflect that love and that passion out into the world. Now, the thing that I am celebrating over the last week is that after 20 years of doing hair, I have finally, by choice, taken off the next 2 months. No hair clients. I am working on closing the salon down, but they won't let me go. So we have a few dates in the holidays because we love them. But I feel like this will be the last year that I really am committed to doing hair, so that I can continue just the empowerment work. That's ultimately what led me out from behind the chair. I coach so many women that are leaving behind something they don't love to find their passion and to pursue their soul purpose. But for me, I loved my job. It was something I chose to do. So when Spirit asked me to like shift gears and do something different, it felt weird because I'm like, my shortest job was 6 hours. I'm the first one to leave a shit situation behind, but to leave a job that you love, or to a passion, or something like that's a whole nother realm of navigating. Like, well, when do I quit? When do I set that boundary down? And so for me, the thing I'm celebrating is that like I actually, not COVID related, I didn't close the salon because of that. You know what I mean? Like that's the only time I've ever taken like a very long break behind the chair. And so for me, willingly taking those 2 months off, it's what I mentioned earlier, is like I have nothing on the calendar until secretly December, you know, like this is me actually giving myself feminine place to pause and actually rest and just be present with what in my personal life is needing attention, taking care of my family, doing some healing work with them. And as much as I want to heal everyone else, you have to pay attention to what's right in front of you and the people that you love the most, you know, your family. So I am celebrating surrender and feminine rest.
So beautiful and inspiring. It has been such an honor and a gift to be able to capture some of your story today. I really feel like we were brought together for a reason. I am totally inspired by you and the way that you have brought in your gifts and the way that you are serving is just absolutely beautiful. So tell all of our lovely magic makers where they can find you, how we can stay connected, and how we can all hopefully meet up at a goddess event.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. You can find me hanging out on Instagram at The World by Brit. This is a new account. Actually, my old account after 12 years was hacked and deleted. So when we asked that question, who am I? That question came up a lot when I was like, but where's all my people? Like they're gone, you know? So I have decided to regrow the Instagram because I just can't help myself sharing my wisdom over there. So follow me at The World by Brit, but you can definitely get all the magic at my website, BrittneyCarmichael.com. This is going to have a link to all of my events, my retreats, my membership, my podcast, the Shine School, the Oracle deck. And in fact, the Oracle deck's website has a digital card pull option. So if you're like, I want to know what my Shine from the Inside message is right now, you can go to shinefromtheinsideoracle.com and pull your card complete with the full message from the guidebook so that you can get that sparkle magic empowerment. So come find me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, let me know what came up for you. I'm here to chat, here to help support. And yeah, definitely go grab your self-love meditations and all the goodies off of the Brittney Carmichael website.
Oh, so good. And if you are driving or walking and you're like, shoot, I didn't get that, it's all going to be in the show notes for you. We will also make sure that we pull a direct link to go pull your card. And please reach out to her, stay in touch. It's one of the best things that you can do to somebody who poured into you on an episode like this. Send her a DM, tell her what her takeaway was. Send it to both of us. I love hearing from you. Thank you for being a magic maker, and we will see you next Tuesday.